Hey everyone! So today I wanted to talk about lady books, or what we like to call women's fiction, or chick lit, which I personally do not like that term, but I want to talk about women's fiction. I read all sorts of types of books. I like to read young adult, I like to read literary fiction, I like to read classics, and sometimes I like to read really fun, girly books, including romance novels. And I wanted to talk about some of my favorite ones and why, even if you're a boy and you enjoy a little love story, or if you're a lady, that you should give women's fiction a try because it will surprise you and it'll be pretty good. It'll be pretty good. Alright, so the first book is a book that a lot of people know about, and I don't know if I would necessarily classify it as women's fiction, but in my brain it's sort of the same thing. It's the same sort of storyline, which is in chick lit, women's fiction. It's about a woman who is trying to figure herself out. She's normally an adult woman, and she's trying to figure herself out. And, there's a love story sometimes, but mostly it's really about her understanding who she is. So, the first book is Chocolat by Joanne Harris. I love this book. I think anyone who reads this book loves this book. It's, as I was talking to my sister about this, it is a small story, meaning it isn't epic, it isn't huge, and that's one of the great things about women's fiction, is that it's normally a small story. It's something that you can kind of go into and enjoy, and I don't know, and it's like a little Hallmark movie, but way better. This book, if you don't know, is about a woman who moves from Paris with her daughter to a small village in France. She's French. And it's about her relationship with the village people, and she opens up a chocolate shop and has the most amazing descriptions of chocolate ever, and it's just lovely and wonderful. It's so lovely and wonderful, and it's also really short. The next book is a book that a lot of people know also, and that is Austenland by Shannon Hale. I read this book a while ago, like 2 years ago, and I read it in a night because it's really short for one, and also the margins are flipping giant. So it's really, really quick. But if you don't know what this book is about, it is about a woman in her 30s who's obsessed with Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen. And through some situations, she's able to go to a kind of a camp where she gets to dress up as Regency era characters and kind of live out a Jane Austen fantasy. And it's about kind of her and some guys and a little bit of a love triangle. This book isn't gonna blow your mind, but it is really cute and funny, and yeah, it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh. The next book is another book that you probably have heard of. I'm gonna, get to the other ones that you probably not have heard of. And that is Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. Whenever I want to read a book that is gonna make me laugh and make me blush because it's going to be so embarrassing and fun, I read a Sophie Kinsella book. I've read 2 Sophie Kinsella books. I'm actually reading one right now. Oh, here it is. Ooh. I'm reading I've Got Your Number, which is really funny so far, that way through it. But I just really enjoy Sophie Kinsella. She's so much fun, and she's such a laugh. And this is her most famous book. It's a series. I've not read any more than the first one. I might one day read the other ones, but I'm not sure. Maybe. But this book is about a woman who's obsessed with shopping, and there's that movie that's nothing really like the book, but kind of. That's also funny. Yeah, I'm just a big old fan of her because she writes such relatable characters who are just kind of Bridget Jonesy in their neuroses and silly things they do, and they're just a lot of fun. Okay, the next books are books you probably haven't heard of, or maybe you have, I don't know. This one is Loved Walked In by Marissa de los Santos. I got this at a thrift store. I was just in the mood to read a chick lit novel. I was wanting to something fun and enjoyable, and I read this, and it was really quite different than what I was expecting. It's about a woman who is in a relationship with this businessman, and one day the businessman's daughter that he didn't know she didn't know that he had a daughter, came to her work, which she worked at a cafe. And her mother had just left. Her mother has a mental illness and left her daughter. And it's about this woman's relationship with this little girl and a lot of other stuff. But it is just so lovely. It's really, really good. Like, it sounds like a Hallmark movie when you read the back, and it sounds, corny, but it's really, really nice and pretty and lovely, and it makes you feel lots of things, and it makes you, I don't know, it makes you happy, and it has a nice ending, and it's lovely. And the little girl in it is just the sweetest. She's just the sweetest. And if you're a fan of Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker wrote a blurb on the back, so yeah. Alright, the next one is Billy and Me by Giovanni Fletcher. Giovanni Fletcher is married to Tom Fletcher, who's the guy from McFly, the British band, who wrote the song Year 3000 that Jonas Brothers covered forever ago. He's also the brother of Carrie Hope Fletcher of It's Way Past My Bedtime. I'm a huge fan of Carrie Hope Fletcher. I think she's just the sweetest. And Tom Fletcher also wrote that wedding speech, and this is his wife, so it's like a big old thing. And so I initially got this book because Carrie Hope Fletcher, and then I started watching Coffee with G, which is Giovanni Fletcher's like kind of show thing she does on YouTube, and I just fell in love with her as a person. I thought she's just the sweetest. So I read this. My mom got it for me when she went to England because you cannot buy it in America. Well, you can buy like an ebook, or you can get it at Book Depository. I'm gonna get our second book. You're the one that I want on Book Depository pretty soon. But I read this on Saturday. I read it in one sitting. Holy moly, it is just the cutest. So this book is about a young woman who, due to her past, is kind of sheltered. She doesn't really, she's not gregarious. She's really like comfortable in her small village. She works at a tea shop, and she's worked there for a long time. And one day, a film crew starts filming in her small village, and a man named Billy Buskin, who's this big teen heartthrob movie star, he's not a teen, but you know what I mean, moves into town, and they fall in love, and it's about her, mostly, and dealing with things from her past, and accepting the way things are, and finding love, and blah, 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 and I don't know, I found it to be just wonderful. It was just the perfect thing I needed to read. It was just like the perfect little nugget of cute and funniness and fun. Some people don't like the characters. I read reviews on Goodreads where people thought that they were really annoying or fake or too perfect, but I found the characters to be really relatable, and I found like their flaws to feel really human. And I really, really liked it. I really, really, really liked it. It was just the cutest. Especially the beginning. If I could just read them in the village the entire book, I would be so happy. Okay, the next two are romance novels. I feel like romance novels have a stigma. I recently read a book called Beyond Having Bosoms, A Smart Bitch's Guide to Romance Novels. It's a nonfiction book about romance novels, critically looking at romance novels. The woman who wrote it loved romance novels. And they just talked about them. And I just, I read romance novels because sometimes I don't want to read anything that's serious, or I don't want to read anything that's taxing emotionally. And I want to read something fun and enjoyable. And I started reading romance novels forever ago. Yeah, and it's just a nice way to clear your palate after you've read something kind of heavy. Anyway, so my two favorite types of romance novels are Regency era romance and Nora Roberts. My mom loves Nora Roberts, or she did, and my sister really likes Nora Roberts. So the first Nora Roberts book I ever read was Dance Upon the Air, which is in a series called the Three Sister Island Trilogy. This series is wonderful. If you like the movie Practical Magic, you're gonna like these. It's about these three women who are all witches, and they live in this tiny island, and there's men who come to town, and the men are dreamy, especially in the second book. It's just so much fun, and like perfect for fall. I read it in the summer a couple years ago. They're just so enjoyable. I might reread this series because I loved it so much. But this series is just so good, and the characters are lovely, and there's some like classic romance tropes in it, but whatever. I don't care. I like a little bit of cliche, but they're so much fun. Like seriously, if you like, witchy books and you like the movie Practical Magic, I would read this series. Okay, and then finally, my absolute favorite romance writer is Julia Quinn. My sister started reading Julia Quinn forever ago, and I sort of follow in her footsteps. I also really like Sarah McLean, but I like Julia Quinn more. I've read a lot of Julia Quinn novels, but Just Like Heaven is my favorite. It's part of the Bridgertons Bridgerton series, which is like a bazillion books and a bunch of siblings being married off. They are so cute. These books are adorable, and they're just, the men in them are so like, ooh, like masculine, but like good guys, and the women are just feisty and awesome. And the Regency era, I love the Regency era because I love Jane Austen, and sometimes when you're reading Jane Austen, you're like, just make out already. And so this is what you get. You get like characters who just get to make out and, you know, other things. But they're just so much fun and lovely. So those are some of my favorite chick lit novels. Read some women's fiction. You know, it's fun, and sometimes it's pretty emotional. It is. Sometimes it's terrible, but sometimes it's wonderful, and it's what you need. Especially in Christmas time. I cannot wait for Christmas time women's fiction books. I'm jazzed about that. Alright, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.